Hey everyone, welcome to This is Whole Life, the weekly podcast from the Whole Life Church here in Orlando, Florida, where you just might be ministering in the desert that God sends you to. That would be Ken Wetmore, our lead pastor, who's on my right.
Ministering in the desert that God sent you to.
I did.
Wow.
Yeah.
It seems bleak.
It didn't it? But I feel like that's how, during this week, as we get into this message, because that's what we do every week here on This is Whole Life. We go through the message from the previous week. We answer your questions. Your voice is always a welcome part of that conversation. Podcast at wholelife.church, 407-965-1607 is voicemail or text message. Let your voice be heard. Let us know what you're thinking or what you agree, disagree, or the next best thing to eat. Because, man, we all just got back from lunch at where? What's the name of it?
Taj Mahal.
Huh?
Do we plug places that aren't sponsoring us yet? I don't know.
Yeah, we probably. Well,
yeah.
I don't know. I'm feeling like we should because this was really good.
It was.
I haven't had Indian food in a long time though.
What was it?
What was it?
Taj Mahal?
No.
No?
I don't think so.
Taj. What is that? What's it?
That
It
was
was,
the flyer in the table.
Oh, the flyer did say that. No, I think that was Taj Mahal beer.
Oh,
I think that
Never
was.
mind.
I think that was.
Maybe we can cut that part out then.
I think that was the drink menu.
All right. This is so bad. It's actually one of my favorite Indian places here in
No, I know, and I thought I was going to remember the name of it because we were talking about the one in Altamont. Making it on this one.
Tamarind.
Tamarind
Indian cuisine.
Oh man!
And it was delicious. What did you get?
I got a tikka masala.
So Lucas got the tikka masala.
Chicken tikka masala.
Chicken?
Okay.
I had lamb, and it was Baba Saha Baba, something like that. And it had if you were
We really prepped this one ahead of time.
yeah, I was going to take a picture because I knew I was going to not be able to say it, but essentially it was lamb inside this cream, yogurt, and cashew sauce that was delectable.
Did you do that because this is Passover week?
Wasn't thinking anything. Well, I know it's in the idea. No.
Okay, just checking.
Because they had me. They had me at cashews.
And me being vegetarian, as always, did the paneer makhani.
Makhani. Yeah, that
so
looks
good.
good. That was one of the
was
first
really
things I
good.
saw, and it looked really good.
It's delicious.
And what I saw on your plate looked really good. So I think I
And
could.
there was
even,
nothing left on my plate at the end, which means it was super good. It does feel a little lonely here, though.
It feels
Can I just say that?
really lonely.
I feel like I keep looking over to my right to see what that person ate, but there's
Oh,
just an
yeah.
empty chair.
You kind of sat closer to Melanie than us. Do you know what she ate?
It was something with spinach.
Oh, ew! I'm so sorry.
Yeah.
I mean,
Oh, spinach. Well, spinach isn't so bad. I thought you. Well, I don't know why it always comes to mind. The what's the crunchy greens? Oh, kale. I thought you meant kale.
No.
See,
I like kale. I don't like.
Oh, come on! I
Oh,
can do kale. I mean, I can
I'll
do
take
spinach.
kale
I can't-
any day over spinach.
Really?
Oh my word!
Oh, it's
yes,
so bitter
yes.
and nasty. No. What don't you like about spinach?
Just
Too leafy?
What is there to like about it? I mean, what do you like about it?
Oh, see,
now,
like
okay. Now, are you talking about cooked,
no, raw
spinach?
raw spinach, like
Okay.
a raw spinach
Okay,
salad.
I'm down for that. Okay.
Yeah.
All right.
I like
we're back to good.
Raw spinach, some strawberries, some nuts, maybe some
Yeah.
craisins, a little
Yeah,
bit of
okay.
stuff like.
No, I agree.
Wow.
All right.
Yeah.
I just don't particularly care for the cooked spinach. It's
Oh no,
slimy and-
I don't eat it cooked.
Okay. All right.
I mean, I guess if
Oh, we're all good then.
all right,
We're back to-
put it in a
back to good.
smoothie. I'll eat it too. That's
All right.
Yeah. So
Popeye's food.
in the interim to in the opening part of Ken's message this past week,
So we're just not going to address why Melanie's not here.
we don't care.
Okay.
Oh, wait a minute,
Let's
do we?
move on then. As long as we just, I mean, if that's how we're addressing it, then let's just do that.
No, you're right. We should address it.
No, I think we don't care. Let's just move on.
Okay, let's move
Let's
on.
go. All right.
So anyway,
We love Melanie. We're just,
Yeah, we
there's
just-
just, you know,
yeah, she's
she
not
has,
here.
she has reasons, and
yeah, she chose not to be here for
Well,
good reason. And
Probably because we moved the time on her.
and part of it was my fault.
Well, we weren't looking to lay blame, but yes, it was your fault, Randy.
Someone's wife needed to be at Terminal C this morning for the Bright Line at 7:15 a.m. And then a kid had to be in the other direction at Lake Mary by
What a busy
8:30.
What a busy life you live.
Yeah.
Sometimes.
You're quite the man, Randy.
Well, when you only have one car, and please Jesus, if the shop could have our car, the other car done this afternoon, that would be supremely awesome.
Yeah.
But anyway, yeah. So no, Melanie had some appointments that she had already rescheduled to this time in the afternoon, and wasn't able to be here. So obviously, we let her take care of those. And even though Orlando, Ken was like, man, I just don't think that Orlando wasn't on his bucket list, wasn't any place he really wanted to be. He's not finding it so much as a desert anymore. And I was like, yay. We have the move. We have, not a desert. And, those whole life people, they're all right. I think I might stay a while. And your face the countenance was bright. It was smiley.
Yeah.
It gave us hope.
Why didn't you have hope? What do you
Well, I mean, we had hope, but you never know, because when you have somebody,
no.
when you have somebody good, then it's like someone's always trying to poach. It's like the NFL.
No,
man.
you're
The
lucky.
good-
I'm here. I'm here.
He's here.
I'm lucky to be here. That's what I'm trying to say.
Ken's like, I'm lucky to be here.
So, I have reached the apex of my career.
The apex. This is it. Doesn't get any better.
No.
Man, it's going to get better.
No, I don't think so. This is it.
Well,
here it might get better.
Right.
But,
That's what I mean.
but
No.
Like, there's nowhere else where it would be better.
I don't think so. I don't even think I'd even listen to any kind of.
I think both you and Lucas should remember that as well. This is the best you're going to do.
No, this is it.
I'm feeling like MJ in his prime.
Yeah, no, for sure.
Yeah,
although, well, maybe we should go back to a little bit younger so we have some more time.
Yeah.
Management really made a mess at the end of that one. So maybe that's not exactly, we should go a little bit back in time, a little bit further. So the other part that it was like, so Ken's message this week to me was like, and Ken and I are within a couple years of each other in age. And I'm like, latchkey kids unite.
Yeah, baby. Did you have the little leather thing that went over your belt that had to clip the key onto it? Did you do that, or was I just nerdy?
My parents did the hide a key at the house.
Oh yeah.
So there was always a key there to get in with.
No, I had the super cool little
Leather
with
the over the belt
thing that snapped onto your belt, and
Yeah.
then the key hung down into your pocket, and then when you got home, you pulled it out of your pocket and turned it in the lock and put it back. And
Oh, that was for my jackknife.
Oh.
I had one of those. My grandpa gave me a
Yeah.
jackknife that my mom wasn't real happy about at the time it was given to me. And of course, the first thing I did was snap the blade over the end of my thumb and cut big
that's
chunk
what
of that.
everybody does.
Yeah, and then you just put it back
Yeah.
in your pocket in a greasy
So
rag and don't
that's
tell
what
her.
Super glue is for, and duct tape, and that's why Gen X is so resilient. We're like we were basically feral. It's like, good luck.
It's just everything you said. Even though Wisconsin, we didn't have any mountains as such.
It's mountains of cheese.
Well, mountains of cheese. But we didn't have. But the afternoon adventures was get on your bike and jump ditches, ride with your friends, go wherever.
Of course.
And then when the when the light got to a certain point, and then you'd listen and the car horn would come on because we lived in the country, and it would inside the garage, you'd leave the garage door open, and then it would really give the echo effect.
Really?
So my mom would give 2 or 3 honks on the horn, time for dinner, and you better be pedaling.
Yeah.
Because if you were late and supper was cold, she was not happy about it.
No, definitely not. No, I know. Oh, that car horn is new to me. That we didn't do that. That usually it was just like the Ken, Chris. You hear it echo. Ken, right through the mountains. Yeah, that was. And man, my parents had voices that would carry. Yeah, you heard it. Depending on how light it was, you knew how much trouble you were. If you could, it was just like, better run fast because this is going to be bad.
We always knew if it, because my dad usually ended up working when you work seasonal construction, excavation, ground freezes in the wintertime. You make hay while the sun shines, so to speak. And so summers was always late. So we would usually even beat my dad home on most evenings. But then it was the the ever popular question. So, what'd you guys get done today? And it was like, oh boy. Were we out looking under for treasure? Were we out riding our bikes? Were we in the mountains?
That counts as something done, doesn't it?
It did. It never did.
I cleared the creek on my BMX. That was a massive new accomplishment, and I didn't go to the ER, so I think that counts.
There he is, right there. Did you guys hear it? What'd you just say? Say it again.
ER?
Nope. What did you jump?
Oh, the creek?
That's it. That is it. Because that is. So I'm like, Ken and I have more in common than I realized from being young and being in that age where behind my parents' house, there's this really small backyard, about maybe a 20-foot paved porch, and about another 30 feet, it's about 60 or 80 feet, just about straight down as far as the dirt will hold. And what's at the bottom of that?
A creek.
That's right. It's a creek. And when we first moved to Florida, people said, a what?
Creek.
A crick. And like, what is your neck snap or something? You got a crick in your what?
Nope.
No, it's waterway. Like define crick. And I'm like,
something between a river and a small stream. So something between those.
Yeah. And I'm like, well, I knew exactly what Ken was talking about when.
Gotta watch out for the water moccasins.
Oh, did you have those there?
Oh my, yes. You gotta watch out.
That far north?
Oh,
really?
Yeah. Oh yeah.
I thought that was farther south, like Georgia.
We had
wow.
Water moccasins. We had I think the occasional rattler, and then we had what was the other one? So water mocks, and then
oof.
Oh, what was the copperheads? Yeah, you got to watch out for those too.
Man,
I hate snakes, man.
No, I do too, and we were always worried about the older kids in our neighborhood, which we lived out in the middle of nowhere, so there was a handful. But like what are the little 4-legged or 8-legged guys that sit on top of the water with the little pods on their feet? They float.
Water skimmers?
Like the water skimmers?
Yeah.
Those are bloodsuckers. Let's get it. If you fall in over the bridge, which was an old railroad tie that was half rotten, so every time you stepped on it, it was like...
Will this be the time?
Will this be the time we end up? It's like, don't fall in, bloodsuckers. Look at how fast they are. They're coming for you. Yeah. Down at the creek.
Yep, down at the creek. There's good times at the creek. Yeah.
Not too many things make it more fun than being at the creek. So I always think that is the the latchkey kids, the knowing when, just by how dark it was, when you were supposed to be home. And usually if we got the car horn, it was like,
So...
it's time to go. Where are those boys?
I didn't talk about it in the sermon, but one of my very favorite activities was we had this huge, I think it was poplar tree. I guess it felt huge as a child. It probably wasn't that big. But we would, tulip poplars. Yeah, are you familiar with those tulip poplars?
Poplar tree, but I don't know if I've heard of tulip.
They basically have these flowers that then kind of go down into like almost like it looks like a tulip, but it's kind of like, you've seen the spinny things off of a pine tree, right?
Yeah.
Well, but it's like kind of like that, but it looks like a tulip. And so this is, I think, in the fall that it happened. It's been so long, I'm trying to dig this up. But anyway, my brother and I would climb this tree, and our goal was to stay up in that tree as long as humanly possible without coming down. And so during the summer, one of the things we would do is we tied a rope up at the top branch that was sturdy enough, and we had a bucket that was at the bottom, and it was Mom's job to put food into the bucket, and we tried to like stay up there like marathon sessions. And how
so
long
Mom was a part of it
during the summer when you know she would occasionally help us out with that. But it was I don't know how we're still alive. We would try to jump from one limb to another, 40 feet in the air or whatever it was, and maybe it was 100 feet. It was really high. I'm sure of that.
Yeah.
my child's memory, I'm sure, is not faulty whatsoever.
No.
But yeah, somehow we survived that. My wife is horrified that was happening. I'm like, well, you know what? I mean, I'm alive today, and it made me a strong, resilient human being.
That's it. It was
never mind all those all the other maimed, crippled people who didn't work out for it.
Helmets, and all that kind
whatever.
of stuff. What was a helmet? We didn't know anything about helmets.
We had this dirt road that, like, you know, all those Jeff Foxworthy jokes about you might be a redneck. Yeah, that all of them applied. It's like, if instructions to your house include turn off the paved road, you might be a redneck. Yes. Thank you, Jeff Foxworthy. 100%. That was true. If there's a dirt mud puddle in your front driveway year round, you might be yes, sir. We checked that one off too. So it was. We had this dirt road, and the house that we lived in was the road felt really. It kind of was on a kind of incline, right, going past my house. So we would go up this dirt road on our bikes, and then ride like insane speeds down this hill, this dirt road. And if you've been on a dirt road on a bike, you know it's not the most stable surface. I don't know. To this day, I'm surprised we live because like we didn't even know that. I didn't even know helmets was a thing.
Oh no,
I was unaware that there was any such thing as a helmet. That's just for people who rode motorcycles, according to my dad.
Yeah.
So anyway, we survived. It was I did get plenty of road rash and other good stuff.
How was your mom, or what? Your dad was a medical person.
Yeah,
right?
he's a physician. My dad was a physician's assistant, and my mom was a receptionist for a medical and dental practices over the years. Yeah.
So my mom was a nurse. My dad knew what to do. He was, of course, he didn't do it, but he was a medic in Vietnam, and we got.
Man, you were all set then.
Yeah, we came home once. We got a big front fender from a 1937 Ford pickup, and I caught it right in the face and in the eye, cut my eyelid open.
Ooh.
And he dug on the truck, found a rag with some whatever on it, threw it on there, drive 2.5 hours home, and the nurse gets out done with work for a 3 to 11 shift, goes into the room and looks and is like, "What happened here?" Stood up right in front of the fender. Kaboom. And she's like, "You didn't think like maybe it needed stitches?" Like, "I put a rag on it." And she's like, "I can see that. Did you clean it out when you got home?" And we laugh at those stories. And then also, my mom was the one who picked gravel out of my knee going down a paved hill, but on a bike that just wasn't fast enough to keep up. And when it started the death wobble, down we went, and with shorts on.
Yeah.
And picking it out, she's like, "Well, you know, that's just life.
Yeah.
That's just life." And it's like, "Well, got anything to numb the pain? A little rubbing alcohol on there. I don't know how to help."
I had a cousin who was doing something similar to that down a hill, and he wiped out. He literally had gravel coming out of his skin for like a year or two afterwards.
Oh, yeah, little pieces. Yeah,
little pieces of
just
that.
Just keeps coming out.
I always thought that was so cool. I didn't want it really. I always like, but that would be kind of cool though to be like.
It hurt though.
Yeah, in the moment, I don't think that would be very fun, but. Anyway, but yeah. So anyway, did you? This is completely off topic. Sorry, folks. You wanted to hear us talk about God and vision and everything like that, but I have to know, Randy.
Okay.
You had a mom who was a nurse.
Yep.
Did you ever get any sick days from school? Because I did not. Like there was nothing sick enough.
Oh no! See, I was the kid that I only usually got sick. Well, I was the kid that got it, and like I got I'd get it at the tail end. Everyone else would get sick first at school or on the school bus, because until my brother was a freshman or a sophomore, we rode the school bus for 4.5 hours a day, and we lived about 12 minutes from school.
Oh wow!
We were the first ones on, and the last one's off in the morning.
That doesn't seem fair.
Last one's on at night, and last one's off because the bus driver lived like a mile from us. So we were it was dumb. That's not good. And so, but I would get sick, and I would be the one who would get the worst of it. So if you got sniffles, I was puking, couldn't eat for 2-3 days. So I did get sick days. I don't know if I would have gotten any if my mom wasn't around, because my dad would be like, "He's fine, go to school, put a little butter on it." No, that was my dad. My dad was like, "You're fine." But Dad, I've got 105-degree temperature. Just don't sneeze on the other kids. You'll be all right. I don't know. I mean, seriously, one of my favorite memories. Sorry, Dad, if you're listening. I really had a great father. So I have a great father. But I'm like, my head is in my hands right now. But one of my favorite memories of my dad was I got salmonella food poisoning, I'm pretty sure, right? I don't know if you ever had that. Yes.
And terrible, like puking all over the place, not doing well. So this is the one time. This is like the one day I remember getting out of going to school. So, but see here, there was no benefit to getting out of going to school because what happened was then I got to go into work with my dad.
Oh,
because yeah, it's a clinic. It'll be okay. You can lay on that comfortable little table that we do exams on. You'll be all right.
Sure.
So I go in. And I haven't eaten for I don't know how long because everything's coming up and I'm not feeling good. And my dad's like, okay, we need to do a blood draw on you.
Oh, no.
Because this was also, I think, a way to make sure that I didn't want to have a sick day because, like, I'm not telling you if I'm going to get my blood drawn, I'm going to stay at your work. This is not worth it. And so he started to draw my blood. And I think I was a teenager around this time or something like that. And I start getting lightheaded. I'm like, I think I want to pass out. He's like, don't embarrass me in front of my coworkers. Don't you pass out. Stay awake. Stay awake. He's just put your head down between your legs. You'll be okay. You don't you pass out. Embarrass me in front of my coworkers. Like, what are you talking about, Dad? I'm puking. And
I have no choice. I'm sorry.
Speaking of vision.
Speaking of vision, no, you know what? This is, I mean, we're laughing and there's a lot of, I'm sure you all have. Tell you what, seriously, send a voicemail and I would play 15 minutes, 20 minutes as a bonus episode just to hear your stories. The same as we've been telling because they're fun to tell and it helps us to see that we have, the things that we have in common. And some people wonder, you look back and go, wow, how did we survive some of the stuff that where it was just like your parents were like, yeah, you'll be fine. I think it's good. And now we're so much more protective of our kids seemingly than, not to say that, I mean, I had great parents too. I'm not complaining, but also it seems like, well, I don't know. That's maybe could have been, but anyway. So
I never want to listen to a podcast my children are on because they will have stories. Well, I can just, and Kyla does listen to this, so I can imagine she might actually send you in something. Kyla, don't do it.
I would love to hear from you, Kyla.
Don't do it, Kyla.
You have my personal number, Kyla. You can send it to me. It'll be fine. Eric, you too, for that matter. And this would be.
Just
this would
remember,
be
you both are living under my roof still. So right now, I'm not living under my parents' roof. So there you go.
So as we were wrapping up, it was just kind of a 2-part small series. But as we start thinking about the next 10 years of what's happening at WholeLife, and
it's worth saying why we're doing this, right? Because we're in the middle of a process where we're going through, and we've had a team of people who have invested a lot of time into thinking about what the future looks like. What is God's vision for this church moving into the future? And so what I wanted to do is kind of set the table a little bit for some things that are going to be coming down the road, where we're going to be talking about the vision, where God wants to maybe take us as a church over the next 5, 10, 15, 20 years.
Yeah.
And so, that's what this series was really about. And also just to kind of remind you that if you don't have a life mission statement for yourself, you probably ought to. And it's also a good thing to be asking God, what are you wanting me to be doing vision-wise? What vision do you have for me?
Well, and it was funny because as you were listing these off, I'm like, man, they seem oddly familiar. And then I'm like, oh, right.
I did preface it by saying you've heard of SMART goals.
Right. SMART goals and this work that he's been referencing that's been going on. And, good vision, the markers of those are, should be the acronym SMART: specific, measurable, attainable, relevant, time-bound. And the end, for Christians, God-sized. And that one should seem, and maybe it really didn't for me. It should seem, though, I would think, that would be obvious, right? It should be God-sized. It shouldn't be based on things that I think I can do without God, because then, well, that's easy. That's like watching Lucas shoot threes.
Yeah.
He never misses.
Thank you.
Never ever.
And so that's just, it's easy, but just thinking about it, and you said, kind of allowing God to be God in our vision, is it big enough that it requires God for completion? If not, like, who gets the credit in the big head? And when you think about, I love lists. I love checking the list off. If you are in a sauna and you watch the unicorn fly across your screen with wings.
Oh yeah.
When you complete your task, you're like, wow, that feels pretty good.
I've never seen a unicorn before.
I haven't either until. But thinking about that and really stopping to think, have my goals really allowed God to be God? And I think of some big goals that I've set in the past that have come true. And I think there was. Others, it's like, no, that was Randy's goal. Randy knew what he wanted. Randy set out to do it, and I did it. But, and not that isn't, maybe there's smaller goals that you can set that are just obvious goals, things that need to be done, everyday things of that nature. But when you're thinking about, like you just talked about, making a vision for yourself, for the future, like, how do you know where you're going if you don't have anything?
Well, you don't.
Like,
and
down.
That's the thing is, it's a lot like when you're out rambling in the woods. If you have no point of reference, if you have no idea where you're going, and you just go out in the woods and wander around, you're going to be massively lost by the time your walk is over, probably. But if you have a reference point to know which way is towards home, vision, then you know whether you're making progress or not. And so for me, that's the big thing about vision, is this reference point that says, hey, am I going in the right direction, or am I not? Am I going on a side tangent? Am I just staying put? And I think a lot of people wander through life without any kind of plan, and then they're surprised when they get nowhere.
Yeah.
Because they just really haven't had a vision for where they're wanting to go, what they, and I shouldn't say where they're wanting to go as a Christian. It's not where you want to go. It's about, where's God sending me? And have I asked God to give me a vision for what God wants to do in my life and where God is sending me? And if you haven't asked for it, don't worry about it. Not too late. Ask.
Yeah.
I always look at it, it's like the GPS. Like, you may be off course, but GPS will put you back on course once you start listening to it and following it.
Even if it'll put you on course, even if you don't listen, you just watch. I have to turn the sound off on mine. I can't listen to "You must turn in 24." No, I can't do that. You mentioned the Israelites 2 weeks ago before church retreat. Their mission was demonstrate my righteousness. Mm-hmm. And then vision, you mentioned this week, leaving the enslavement of Egypt and basically moving into the promised land.
Yep.
And so, but thinking back, or thinking of them when they're, making bricks, the straw, they're doing they're enslaved, they're doing all this work, they're getting, their treatment is not good. Nothing about life is really good other than maybe 3 squares a day, and that's probably it if they got that. How did they know? Like, that's the part when I ask God, well, what is my mission? And then how is the vision going to change? Because that seems uncertain. How do I put those two together? Because I think about them, and that's a big group, and although they did have someone leading them directly. How do you put the two together to say, like, yeah, okay, I got it. This is the mission, and then the vision could be, right? It's time bound, but it can move. It can vacillate. It can be flexible.
Absolutely. Mission's timeless. Vision is time bound. It's going to have an element of time to it, and it's also your. Let's say that your mission was to be a follower of Christ, which, just keep it pretty simplistic
easy.
There. There's a lot of ways to be a follower of Christ. You could be a general contractor building houses and bringing glory to God by being honest and doing great work and doing that. You could do it by being a nurse and bringing comfort to people. There's a lot of different things. And what I've found is not only that, but there's just seasons of life where this is what God's calling you to, and then the next season of life, God's calling you to something. So maybe you're a general contractor in this season of life, and then maybe God calls you to be a nurse or whatever. But the point is to be listening to God and recognizing when God is moving and directing in your life. And so, vision can look like a lot of different things. It will absolutely change. It's the reason why I am not still in television news at this point, is because God gave me a vision of working in news. That was my how I was fulfilling my mission and my purpose at that point. And then it came this really, for me, it was just a really, you got to be kidding me. Where he's like, I want you to go back and work for the Seventh-day Adventist Church. And I was like, oh, please no. That's not, no, I'm really happy where I'm at. And God made it obvious that's what we were supposed to do. And he didn't make it obvious in the easy ways, like where you get fired or something. And my bosses were like, well, you're doing great. What do you need? But Rashawn and I came because we were listening to God's voice, because we were praying, spending time with God and spending time in God's word and reflecting on what God wanted and asking God to open doors and close doors. It became really obvious to us that we were supposed to leave that particular thing. And it became very obvious that we were supposed to go, and I was supposed to take on the job as communication director in the Georgia Cumberland Conference. And it was, I'm so glad I did. It was such a God thing. And the crazy thing is I was in that job for a little less than 2 years, which
the news.
In the communication director for the Georgia Cumberland Conference. And that was at that point that I got asked to be a pastor. And so you see, your vision for what you're doing can change. I went into that job as the communication director for the Georgia Cumberland Conference thinking, man, I want to be here for at least 10 years. This is a great job. It's a great place. Good people to work for. And it was wonderful.
So 2 jobs in a row?
Yeah, but see, when I look back on it, I see how God used each one of those experiences to grow me into what he wanted me to be. And I think I pray that I was a blessing in each, when I worked in news, I was a blessing there. When I was a communication director, I was a blessing there. But I do believe that God prepares us for what he calls us to. And some people he calls to be in the same job their entire career.
Yeah.
And that's great. And other people, he says, okay, I've got this for you. And sometimes this is a building block experience to move you on to the next thing that I have in mind for you. I need you to get this information so that you'll be effective at the next thing. I've experienced in my own life that there have been times where God has called me into suffering. And I know that that's not a popular thing to say, but I look back in my first experience working for the Seventh-day Adventist Church, and it was absolutely miserable. It was just no way around it. It was absolutely miserable. And when I look back, I see how God called me into that suffering experience that wasn't fun, that was hard, because he needed to change some things in my characters, change some things about who I was, also teach me some things about who God is. And so that was all important. And so I think that sometimes we underestimate the value of a hard workout. If you've ever gone to the gym and done a hard workout, you kind of ache a little bit afterwards. And sometimes it's not, at least for me, it's not fun. I don't enjoy it. And yet I sure do like looking at the results later. I mean, I've been told that people enjoy that. I've never actually done it well enough to do that. But you know what I'm saying though here,
sure.
And that's the part where the question is: do you trust God with your life or don't you? Do you believe that God has a vision for your life or don't you? Are you seeking that vision for your life, or do you think that you're the best person to decide where God wants, where you're supposed to be, and you just basically ask God to bless your judgment, and that you're going to do what you want to do? And I'm just a huge believer in asking God, what do you want?
Yeah.
What is the best? Where can I be the biggest blessing? Where can I? And sometimes being a big blessing means that you're not getting blessed the way that you want to, or that you feel like you deserve. But sometimes being a blessing means sacrifice, and it means that things aren't as easy. You just look at some of the really great Christian pioneers through the years, and you can go ahead and name whichever one really sticks out to you. But there's hard times involved. You think about Martin Luther King Jr., the civil rights movement, that had to have been difficult to do what he did. It had to be hard, and yet God was calling him to be a blessing to so many, and to make the world a better place. And so those are all things I think that we have to think about, because I think that we live in a society now that, particularly I think a lot of mainstream Christianity kind of has a prosperity gospel kind of bent to it, where you know that you're doing the right thing if you're rich and have lots of nice toys, and life is never has any suffering or pain in it. And when I read the Bible, that's just not what I see. I don't. That is actually the exception rather than the rule, I believe. Generally what you see in the Bible is that people who are following Christ, they have struggles. There are difficult experiences, and it's not always easy. Now, is there joy in the journey? I do believe that. I do believe that we can get joy, but that doesn't mean that there isn't hardship and difficulty that go along with it. And so I don't know. I hope that everybody who's listening right now will really think hard about how God is calling, what God's calling you to. What does God want for you? Rather than just thinking, okay, what's my next meal? What's the next car I'm going to get? Those are not, again, I think about my next meal too. We had a great one for lunch, as we mentioned a little earlier.
Yeah.
But is that the primary focus? Or is it really about what is it that God is wanting to do through me? And how can I be a blessing in this world?
And hopefully, how does that look as someone who is engaged at WholeLife? How does that work out for us, saying, hey, let's all do this together? What did God put you in for you and for me and for each of us? And the one is, speaking of the pioneers, Moses is always one of my, he may be my favorite Bible character.
That guy, man, so much patience, so much. I just think about what it'd be like to lead millions of people
well, and you
through
said
a desert. Ugh.
When you said Moses is puzzled, he's thinking, hey, we've left the enslavement. Like, this is part of the vision. We're days away from the promised land.
Yep.
But then God takes us the long way around. We have the Red Sea, and all of a sudden we are more terrified now than probably before we left Egypt in the first place. Yeah. And I've never thought about how close they were, or maybe I just haven't lately, but that really struck home. Like, man, he's probably thinking to himself, oh, man, all this, like, I didn't want to talk to him. He sends my brother. Okay, we get it all worked out. We do all the plagues. We do all the dance. We do all this stuff. And man, this is going to be sweet. We're going to be there in no time. Yep. And then thinking,
the hard part is over.
That's right. Yeah, we've done all the heavy lifting, and now this is the victory march in. And then it's like, if only you knew what was ahead. And Moses. Wow, just like you said, that thinking about what he went through, and even the times when he's upset and he's angry, there's always that hint of, come on, God, we can do better than this for your people, right? Yep. Like, he's always on their side. And I'm like, how in the world did he keep that in front of him? And it's just something to think about is, there's going to be those moments no matter what, even when you're sure that not only is the mission correct, but the vision's correct, and you're holding on going, I was really thinking the heavy lifting was already over, and now we're stuck. We had a couple questions. Lucas, why don't we start with you and hit those questions, and then we do have also one from Facebook that Haas sent me from Saturday.
Sure. So the first one is from Nashville team. If I have a God-sized vision, will God always tell me to get moving and cross the Red Sea? Sometimes it's difficult to know which sea to cross.
Good point, Nashville, Tim. And I think there's times in the Bible where God says, be still, and no, stand still. There's other times where God says to go sing before the enemy. So there's a lot of different things. The question is, are you tuned into God to know what God wants you to do? And then are you willing to do it when it doesn't make sense?
Oh, shoot. I was right along with you, and then he's like, when it doesn't make sense. Because often it feels like it doesn't make sense. It doesn't make human sense.
Yeah.
That's different. That's tough. That's tough.
Yeah, another one here from Anonymous. What are the signs that a vision might actually be from God and not just our own ambition?
Wow. Oh,
that's really a great question. I think that some of the signs that go along with those things is it in harmony with your understanding of the Bible and what you understand the Bible teaches. Is it when you talk to other godly people that you know have a relationship with Christ? What's their take on it? Are they feeling like they're like, yes, this we hear God moving in this? That can be another one. Another one for me is where I ask God to open and close doors. Does God open the doors for something to happen, or are the doors closing? And am I trying to force put the crowbar in and try to open the door that's clearly not opening? And there's been times where where there's been options where I've had multiple options in it, and it seemed like there were multiple open doors. So which one do you walk through? And I'd pray about it, and it didn't seem like God gave me an answer in those cases. I've just used the best judgment that I have and told God that if I'm getting it wrong, please slam the door shut.
Yeah.
Before I get through it. But again, to me, it really comes down to just giving God permission to be sovereign in your life and to be in charge and to do what God wants to do, and saying that every day, saying, God, look, whatever decisions I make, I want to make the ones that are honoring you. So stop me from making ones that aren't. Yeah. And help me to make the right decision that you want me to make.
Yeah, open and closing doors. It's a big one. Because I feel like that one, if they close, and it's usually pretty obvious, but then there's times, like you said, sometimes you just have to go, well, if from what I think, from what I've been feeling, this is the way to go, and I haven't seen the door close or open, so this is it. Here we go. Yeah. You got one more?
Yeah, one more.
Awesome.
Why do you think so many visions fail to move from dream to action?
Fear.
Oh, yeah.
Fear. We tend to be motivated by fear of loss more than fear of reward, and so, we tend to be motivated to not lose something, so fear, versus even a reward. People don't want to lose. And so I think that a lot of times dreams stay dreams because we're afraid of where that will take us. We're afraid of what the future might look like. It doesn't make sense. And so I remember that, when I got called to be a pastor, I was asked to turn in my resume and cover letter for this particular position. And deadline to do it came and went. I didn't do it. My wife asked me, "Have you turned it in?" I said, "No, I didn't." And she said, "Well, why not?" I said, "I just don't know. I really don't think this just seems like there's a lot of things that are really scary about this, and I don't know." And she said, "Well, are you scared? Are you acting not? Do you believe God doesn't want you to do it, or are you just scared?" And I was like, "Well, I'm just scared." So turned in the resume, and here I am sitting here today. I remind her of that too, by the way.
Nice.
But the point is, I think fear is one of the things that really keeps us from fulfilling everything that God wants to do in our life.
I think it's pride too, and fear, because I think pride, you just end up with, man, this was like, it's not my idea. And I already have an idea. I've already got a plan. This really doesn't fit with my plan. And I don't want people to think that I don't know, or I'm not smart, or I'm not successful, or to see me fail. And as much as that's difficult sometimes too, the failing, man, when have you learned your best lessons? Is when you've tried something even there's no way this can fail, and when it blows up, you're like, wow, you gotta own it, and that's huge. All right, our final one was, I love the concept of God-sized vision. What if one's God-sized vision is not seen by others? For example, what if the larger church does not see your vision or the board's vision? And this can be applied personally. I think God-sized visions are successful, but may take turns based on on our obedience. What do you think?
Yeah, that's interesting. So yeah, I actually have believed that there have been times where God called an organization I was working with to do something, and they did not feel that way about it, and didn't go down that route. And that can be really disappointing. And yet I've also learned to trust God that if it doesn't happen, then there must be some other way around it. But I do believe that we have the option whether to choose God's way or to not, if we choose not to. The second part of that is on a personal level. If other people are telling me that I'm not doing what they think God wants me to do, I want to prayerfully think about that, particularly if it's somebody that I really respect and really believe has that relationship. I want to really spend some time praying and thinking about that. Having said that, going back to leaving television news, I remember having a very godly person. I was talking to them, and I just said, well, I feel like God's called us to leave, and if he's called us to leave, everything will work out, because I didn't have another job at that point. They're like, well, Ken, sometimes things don't always work out. And I remember that kind of shaking me up at the time because they were really doubtful about this decision I'm making. They thought I was doing the wrong thing. I went back, I prayed about it, and it was very obvious to me from other things that were happening that this is what God was wanting, and they're, take nothing away from them as being a godly person. But on this one, they weren't right. And so for me personally, I had control over that. It's a little bit different when you're leading an organization. In an organization, you have to have consensus. You have to have a group of people to be able to move forward. I mean, even with Moses, he had to convince the children of Israel to follow him, which is thus the miracles and going on. But personally, if you believe God is calling you to do something, you need to do it. If it's within your power to do it. Whether or not you're getting a lot of naysaying or not.
So on the last part, I think God-sized visions are successful, but they may take turns. Like I'm assuming turns for the worst based on our obedience. I mean, is that can we look at that as just, hey, here's the plan, you're not following it, or are we looking at it as God's like, well, Ken, I'm pretty sure I said 1, 2, 3, 4, then 5, and you said 1, 3, 4, and then 6. So here's my thumb, and here you are, Ken. Under my thumb does God turn it, or is it just like, hey, can it go wrong even if we follow with our obedience?
If we're following God, I don't think it goes wrong.
Okay,
but it may feel wrong. It may not. Again, I think that sometimes it's really easy when you're on the ground to not be able to see the big picture. And God sees a much bigger picture than we do. And sometimes the things that we think are really unsuccessful are huge wins in God's view. And sometimes the things that we think are huge wins are not at all for God, because God has a completely different perspective than we do. And so, my thing is I don't stay awake too much worrying about whether I've messed things up, because as long as I know I am doing my best, then what I try to do is just put it in God's hands. And if I make a mistake, I make a mistake. Where I believe God can resolve those things and move things forward in spite of that.
I like it. All right. So moving forward, this wraps that one up. And so there's nothing to talk about for the rest of right? Nothing else big coming up at all?
No, just Easter.
Oh, right. Easter. Did I miss
just that little thing we call the resurrection?
Right. I believe that's this Saturday, isn't it?
It is.
Right here.
It is. You don't want to miss out. Like I said in church, there's never a bad Saturday to bring your friends and family to church, but there are some Saturdays that they're going to be more interested in, open to it, and this is one of those. So
I heard something about free ice cream, and so I was trying to figure out what Ken was talking about. There's a good time to bring your friends to church and ice cream or something, and that might have just been me. So
I see.
Yeah.
Well, we'll get you some ice cream, Randy, for you.
All right, I'll be here then. That'll be fine. No, it is the best weekend maybe to bring your friends. I think it's going to be packed. So
you know what? Every weekend's a good weekend to bring. It's always the best, but this is one of those weekends again where your friends are more open and interested in a church experience, and that's what I would say. That's the advantage to inviting this weekend. But this is it's going to be an incredible program. I know Melanie and her team have put a lot into it. It's going to be fantastic. You guys have put a lot into it, and every other week is a good week too.
All right, and then we finish up Easter. What's next?
Jumping into a series on the book of Ruth.
Yeah. Oh, I'm excited about this.
Yeah.
Are we learning something new that we haven't learned before, do you think?
I sure hope so.
Well, me too. I love the story of Ruth. It's one of my favorites, so I can't wait to get to that. Okay, that's going to do it for this week. Hopefully next week, post Easter, Melanie will be back in one piece after surviving all the program details and getting everything together. But please do invite family, friends. I would suggest maybe first service. It's sometimes if you get here early. Both services, get here early, get yourself a place to sit. We've been looking at all the pieces and parts, and it looks like if you were here last year, it was a very, very special Sabbath. So don't miss out on that. So, all right, that's going to do it for this week, guys. Thanks for listening, and have a great week.